hospital. 15-year-old Miranda Phelps and 14-year-old Lauren Dietz.
Miranda and Lauren were crazy all the time, constantly singing, dancing. They were together all the time. Lauren came over after school every day.
Most I remember about Lauren and Miranda is probably our car rides home. I mean, they were bubbly. It was a good relief after school.
I met them during soccer and conditioning. They're going into their freshman year and I was going into my junior year. Just watching them together always made me think of friendship.
They would bounce around the house, and one of the things they like to do is use the karaoke machine and use their hair brushes and act like they were singing.
I mean, they always made you smile. That was the biggest thing about them.
Miranda liked boys, and I didn't. She loved soccer. She was our oldest child. She was just a year older than her younger sister. They were very close.
Typically, it was a day that I would have been taking them home from school, but because we were seniors, we got the day off.
I came home one night and I was going to start calling some parents to see if I could get her a ride home that last week of school. And she pleaded with me to let her ride with her friends. And she challenged me because she felt like it was time that I start letting go some. And she was right. So I agreed with her. I remember waking her up, kissing her on the forehead, telling her happy birthday, and she got ready for school.
I remember going into schoolroom and thinking, oh, I need to wish her a happy birthday, and I actually saw her that morning.
And then the bell rang and I walked home from school. I remember they didn't come.
At 3:15, Mallory called me at work and said that Miranda wasn't home.
And I thought maybe they are hanging out at school a little bit longer. And then one of the parents called and said, there's been an accident, you need to call your parents.
Got woken up by my phone just getting blown up. Same person calling over and over again. It was a Molly Sherlow.
The first person I called was Brett. And I called him over and over until he answered, and I don't really remember having a conversation with him.
She was hysterical. And I couldn't hear a word she was saying.
So then I started to get scared. So I called a friend of mine that's a Middletown police officer. He called me back and told me that we needed to go to Triple Creek and meet him there. We went to the back end of Buell from Crest. And Debbie was in front of me in her car, and I was in mine, and then her and Mallory were parking when I pulled up. And before I could step away from my car, somebody was shooing them.
And I just remember that moment, seeing everyone being able to go up there, and he told us we had to go up the other way.
At this point, I'm still believing that Miranda's at a hospital and she needs her mom and dad there.
I was only 13, so my mind wasn't thinking the worst of the worst. And my mom's like, you don't know that. We waited there for a long time. My dad was pacing back and forth, yelling at different people, just tell me where she is.
At one point, Debbie says, you know why they're not telling us anything. And I just kind of blew, I said, that's ridiculous, it's her birthday. And Mallory's crying.
I remember Sergeant came over and he had told us, he called both families over.
We were standing there with Lauren's grandparents and Lauren's dad. And he asked who we were and took his hat off, and that's all I remember. I don't remember what he said. I didn't need to hear it.
A community is in mourning tonight after 2 Northwest High School students were killed in a single-car crash this afternoon.
15-year-old Miranda Phelps and 14-year-old Lauren Dietz were killed along Buell Road in Colerain Township.
I just remember in that moment, I saw my parents fall to the ground. Our pastor at church, he caught me, and I just remember, you know, that moment, just everything just changed.
The next thing I knew, I opened my eyes and I was face down on the ground.
It's one of those things that it hits you, and you don't know what to say, you don't know what to do, you just kind of stop.
And there was already people at our house. There was a caterer that had set up food for us, and that night, just so many people.
There was a lot of people crying, a lot of people hugging.
And all I started thinking about was, I can't help Miranda, but I got to take care of Debbie and Mallory.
For days, I sat on the front porch and I sat on the front porch, and finally someone just told me, you know, she's not coming home, and that was hard for me.
You never realize how big someone is in your life until they're not there anymore. And so the next day was just devastating for all of us. The soccer team, the Northwest girls soccer team, all just kind of huddled together because we didn't know what to do. Our family was missing, and that was the biggest loss to us, is because they were so much fun and they brought such a different dynamic to the team.
That was a hard time. Because after everything's said and done, you take a flower off each one's casket, and then you walk away knowing that that's the last time.
No parent, no mother should ever have to bury their child.
We made a commitment to make sure that we didn't allow this to tear us apart. I couldn't change it, but I could make a difference.
I can't imagine what this new normal will be, to walk upon an earth that would bear such.
Sharon Eshe is the artist. She actually taught Miranda and Mallory piano for a couple of years. The day after the accident, I was sitting there and I saw Sharon step up on the porch. She reaches in her pocket and she had a cassette tape. And she said, "This is what God gave me last night." It was what Miranda knew. Later that night, we were out back. Debbie said, "Why don't you go get that cassette and let's listen to the song." We realized that night that there was something to that. We decided we were going to use it as a tool of outreach for the kids. A lot of times teenagers have CD cases sitting on their seats of their car, so we thought maybe if, number one, we gave them a song about Miranda's faith, that they would remember the one and only thing that was important to her, and that car hit that tree. That was her faith. They would also see pictures of the girls and be reminded of them losing their lives in a car accident, and maybe think when they're behind the wheel.
The Colerain Northwest area, the Northwest community was, you couldn't ask for more support than we had from them.
And I just thought, you know, this isn't real. You know, not this many people care and know. And some advice that I would give someone going through what we did was, you know, there is light at the end of the tunnel. I think my life is completely different than what it would have been if this didn't happen.
You don't know how long you're going to be here. So until you're gone, make that effort to help somebody, make that effort to make someone smile, because you never know how far that'll go for them.
You know, you want to celebrate Miranda's life. You don't want to think about the accident and bad things that can happen. You know, she would want us to live our lives like everything's normal.
I mean, obviously you're sad when you miss them. You're sad when people talk about them and you're like, yeah, they could be here right now. I mean, but you're happy they're in a better place. You're happy that you know they're looking down on you smiling. And I couldn't really ask for anything more.
We just feel like Miranda's presence is always being told to us in certain ways.
We realized that the girls weren't going to be forgotten. We do a butterfly release and have it every year on the 29th since.
So even when we go on vacation, sometimes I'll be thinking about her and a butterfly will fly by. Or I'll say things and a butterfly will just come out of nowhere. So we really use that symbol as a way to remember her.
But just live every day like it's your last, because Miranda and Lauren were the perfect example of that.